Hello, and welcome to this session of Victoria University's undergraduate webinar series, and thank you to everyone who has tuned in. My name is Megan and I'm a future student advisor at Victoria University, and in this session we'll be discussing our courses in primary and secondary education. Just before we begin this webinar, I'd like to do an acknowledgement of country and pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the land which we live, work and study on today, and I would also like to pay my respects to the elders, past, present and emerging. And just a few housekeeping rules before we begin. Firstly, this webinar will be recorded for repurposing, and all participants who registered for this webinar will receive a copy of the recording via email. Secondly, all attendees are muted and not visible, so none of the panelists can see or hear you. And finally, if you have any questions during this webinar, please leave them in the Q&A box and you'll receive a written response from a staff member working behind the scenes. Firstly, we'll tell you about some of the highlights of studying education that you can look forward to if you decide to study at Victoria University. Our Bachelor of Education P12 course qualifies students to teach at both primary and secondary level upon graduation. So if you're unsure which age group you'd like to teach, this course is an excellent way to keep your options open. Victoria University is ranked world standard for research in education and specialist studies in education, as well as ranked 12th globally for quality education. The Victorian Institute of Teaching requires graduates of teaching degrees to complete a minimum of 80 days of practical placement as part of their studies in order to qualify for registration as a teacher. But at Victoria University, we offer our teaching students 103 days of placement to help our students get the most out of their studies and to help prepare them to enter the workforce after graduation. We also have many industry partner organisations at Victoria University, including primary and secondary schools, community organisations, museums and libraries. And finally, there's our revolutionary VU block model, which allows students to focus on just one subject at a time for a period of 4 weeks, rather than the traditional way to study that other universities offer, which is 4 units in 1 semester. Now we're going to hear from Professor Anthony Watt, Deputy Dean of the College of Arts and Education and Director of Learning and Teaching at Victoria University.
I am Professor Anthony Watt and I'm the Deputy Dean of the College of Arts and Education and also the Director of Learning and Teaching. I think in terms of education over the last few years, we've made sure that our units reflect the content, the knowledge and the skills that you need to go and be successful. We have a lot of students that are coming through pathways, so that can go from school leavers through to people that are thinking about a career change or a course change, and we believe that they'll fit into one of the courses that we have on offer in the college. In our pathway programs, we will ask students to engage in about 150 hours of community-based education engagement. In education, the main industry connection is through schools. So we have about 900 schools that we have ongoing associations with. In our other education courses, we're working with community, so areas such as Footscray Arts Precinct, Public Pedagogies organisation, to look to see how we can work with community to ensure that education's not solely school focused. And I think that's an important difference for the way that we've designed our programs. Our pre-service teaching programs in the College of Arts and Education are accredited with the Victorian Institute of Teaching, so they have set number of days that they have to undertake. The Bachelor of Education program is a P12 program. So we're the only program in Victoria that has that capacity for students to get both a primary teaching qualification and a secondary teaching qualification in the one degree. We also have our 3-year Bachelor of Education Early Childhood, a degree approved by CEQA, which allows students to enter the early childhood workforce after 3 years. Graduates are able to enter teaching careers, so either in early childhood, primary school or secondary school. Many of the education students will go on to education opportunities in the community. Areas like libraries, community education hubs, arts facilities. We also have a very large early childhood framework. So we probably have 1,000 early childhood centres that we're working with to place our students that are doing the Bachelor of Education Early Childhood or the Graduate Diploma in Early Childhood. And the programs are very successful. They have a important placement focus. It's one of our really popular programs at the moment, and we're getting good feedback from the early childhood centres that we're working in that the students have the right skill set to work in that profession. So we encourage students to think about what is the skill set that they've got in relation to being an educator and how can that connect to the community. So graduates are able to enter teaching careers, so either in early childhood, primary school or secondary school. We're trying to ensure that we have a range of opportunities for students beyond school-based opportunities.
On this page, you'll see the undergraduate courses offered at Victoria University in education. Our Bachelor of Education P12 is a 4-year program. Graduates of this course are qualified to register with the Victorian Institute of Teaching and work as a teacher in either primary or secondary school settings. There are many specialisations that you can choose from in this course, including arts, English, food technology, psychology, health, and many more. Our Bachelor of Education Studies is a 3-year program and offers education skills and knowledge to work in many different settings, such as teacher aid roles, mentoring or tutoring, disability work, or specialised learning programs. It also offers an alternative pathway into teaching, with many graduates often progressing to a Master of Teaching in either primary or secondary education. We also offer a Higher Education Diploma of Education Studies, a very popular pathway for both our Bachelor of Education degrees. This diploma not only guarantees entry into these degrees, but it also provides credits for the first year of study, so students can commence the Bachelor from year 2. At Victoria University, we've revolutionised tertiary education with our award-winning block model. The VU block model allows students to focus on just one subject at a time, rather than juggling multiple subjects over a 6-month period like at other universities, and is offered to students in all years of our undergraduate degrees. With the VU block model, you'll be fully focused on each subject. If you're fascinated by one particular subject, you can immerse yourself in it and enjoy all that that subject has to offer. And if you don't enjoy it, you'll be pleased to have it finished in only 4 weeks, without having to wait until the end of the semester to know what your result is. Up next is a brief video just to show you what your year will look like while studying under the block model at Victoria University.
We've been teaching the same way for hundreds of years now, but the world around us has changed, and along with it, employer and industry needs. So at VU, we change the way you learn with our Australian-first VU block model. Traditionally, you juggle the demands and deadlines of 4 units at once. Instead, the VU block model has you focus on 1 unit at a time. Each semester will be broken into 4 blocks, which run for 4 weeks. You focus on 1 unit in each block, completing all your assessments before moving on to the next. So instead of this, the VU block model looks like this. VU's block model gives you greater focus by studying just 1 unit at a time in smaller, more collaborative classes and provides flexible study options to suit your lifestyle. With the introduction of block model, student success is soaring. More students are passing first year and second year too. And over 40% of students are now enjoying grades at or above distinction levels. VU students are more engaged and satisfied with their uni experience. Employers have also noticed the difference, ranking VU graduates in the top 10 of more than 40 universities for work readiness. And more than 90% of graduates are ranked highly for employability. So, when you study with the VU block model, you know it's proven to give you the support and skills you need to succeed.
Hi Rose, welcome and thanks for joining us today. Could you introduce yourself to our audience and tell us what course you're studying?
So I'm currently studying a Bachelor of Education P12. I'm in my 3rd year. I'm majoring in health education and minoring in student welfare, so student well-being and coordinating and those kind of areas outside of the curriculum. I currently work as a student ambassador, and also work at student services for the uni. And that's basically a little bit about me.
Fantastic. Could you tell us why you chose the course Bachelor of Education P12?
So basically, through, I think it was starting from year 11, I always had a passion for education. I think the whole concept of learning and growing through your experiences and also through school, whether it's you making different friendship groups or just finding new passions through whether it's English, math, or whatever subject it is, I think learning is just so important for you to develop as a person. And so through year 12, I was like, I know I definitely want to help people. And it was actually my year 12 career practitioner who helped me find this course because I was a little bit iffy whether I wanted to do primary or secondary because I loved younger kids and I love older kids as well. Like there's pros and cons to both, but I just loved that VU could offer the P to 12 course and have both options together.
Awesome. Could you tell us what's been some of the highlights of the course for you so far?
Oh, definitely. There's been a lot of highlights. Like I have loved the block model and being able to make friends and balance like work life and being able to do at least all my studies and assignments because block mode can be quite intense, as I'm sure like you would know as well, but it can be quite full on. But it has been good with being able to balance all the other aspects of my life as well. Um, Placement experience, it starts first year and it's amazing experience getting in the classroom in your very first year when most people don't start until second or third, so you don't really know if the classroom environment is for you. um, the teachers have been absolutely amazing and they've been so supportive. There's heaps of class time, face-to-face hours with teachers. They're really open to communicating outside of the school, like the 9 hours that you get, and they're open to emails. Some even let you call them and contact them that way. But overall, they are really, really helpful and supportive in questions about anything, basically.
That's so wonderful to hear. I understand you're currently doing your placement. Could you tell us a bit about your experience with that?
So I've currently, as I'm in my third year, I'm doing my first secondary and only secondary placement. So at the moment, I'm in my 2 week block. So I've got first week or first and second week, I'm teaching. And so it's been really, really lovely. Honestly, your mentor is the greatest person you can go to and learn from during your placement time because they would know what it's like to be a pre-service teacher. They know all the struggles that you're having with, having to balance assignments and, and also your work plus lesson planning for their classes. So it's been really, really good experience. I've been able to have a really wide range of students all the way from EAL to an enrichment class and then a couple of classes that are a little bit harder to manage in terms of behavior, but it just really teaches you, how do you actually cater for this? What's your teaching style? And I guess for my course, the most important thing would be placement because you can learn in the classroom and do all these theories and written assignments, but it's not until you're in the classroom where you talk to students and you get to know them when you realize like, this is what I'm passionate about, whether it's being a really strict teacher or a laid back, one of the students' friends kind of teacher, like you learn that based off of how the students respond to you and you know what you do and don't like in a classroom, whether you want people to sit in groups or you want to have a plan, how you respond to them, whether it's with sarcasm or whether you're going to not have humor in the classroom, like all of these things you learn. And even though placement you get for, I think it's about 4 or 5 weeks in total during your third year, this is the time where you learn the most during that period about what you're going to apply in your course later on in the year and for the year to come.
That's fantastic. And could you tell us a bit about your experience with the VU block model?
Honestly, I have absolutely loved it since day one. And block model has just been so perfect for me because like I literally work 3 jobs, 2 at the university, and then I also work a part-time job outside, also studying the full-time load. So with block model, it's 3 times a week for me and 3 hours per class. So outside of those 9 face-to-face hours, I can plan my day as it would be, work the rest of the business day. I could do my assignments at night. I've still got time to hang out with friends on the weekend. And it just makes everything so manageable. And because you're only focusing on one subject at a time, it's nowhere near as overwhelming with all the content that's being thrown at you, and having to think about all these different subjects and dividing your attention. Whereas the one subject, you give it your all, you pass, and then you move on to the next one, knowing, okay, I've passed these credit points, I'm this much closer to the end goal, basically.
Wonderful. That's so great to hear. And finally, why do you think students should choose Victoria University?
So there's heaps of reasons, first of all, but mainly Victoria University is one of the only universities in Australia that offers the Peter 12 course, where you've got the same 4 years you would do at any university in an education undergrad degree. However, you've got primary and secondary all in the 4 years. You've got plenty of placement experience during that time as well, and you're not having to specialize in anything extra other than your major and minor as well. So to why students should choose it is it's an amazing and supportive culture around you, whatever it is, whether you're joining a club in the classroom or whether you're being able to talk to the teacher. It's such a supportive and comforting culture. Everyone kind of understands each other, and it's very diverse. So you'll meet people from a range of different abilities, cultures, personalities, and it really just helps you learn more about people, especially for education. It's so important to get to know different personalities, how to cater to them as well. And there's so many opportunities available at the university, whether it's working as a student ambassador like myself or joining the abundance of clubs and societies that we have, volunteering, and there's heaps of different events that go on throughout the year. And it's really important to get involved as well, just to make the most out of your time at university. You don't just want to go to class, not make friends and leave. You want to make the most of it because it's such a huge, important time in your life as well, where, you know, you're still experiencing and living, and there's just so much changes happening, and uni shapes a huge part of that time as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Rose. It was great to have you, and good luck with the rest of your studies.
Thank you for having me.
Moving on to pathway options for our education degrees. Regardless of where you start, at Victoria University, there are many ways you can build a pathway connection to your dream course. As mentioned earlier, our Diploma of Education Studies is a very popular pathway course for both our Bachelor of Education P12 and our Bachelor of Education Studies. This course provides 96 credit points, which is equivalent to 1 year. That means students can commence the bachelor degree from year 2, making it a very time and cost-effective course of study. Another pathway option is our Diploma of Teacher Preparation, which provides fundamental knowledge of the education environment and the teaching profession. You're guaranteed entry into both of these bachelor degrees if you successfully complete this diploma. And if you choose to continue with the Bachelor of Education Studies, you'll also be granted 24 credit points, which is equivalent to 2 subjects. For students with an interest in sport, we also offer a pathway from our Diploma of Sport to the Bachelor of Education Studies, with guaranteed entry upon successful completion of this diploma. The first year of our Bachelor of Education Studies also shares common units with our Bachelor of Education P12. So students who successfully complete the first year may be eligible to transfer into the second year of the Bachelor of Education P12, provided they meet the skills benchmarks, Landtite, and non-academic attributes assessment. Remember that there are many ways you can get into your course of choice, and these are just some examples. At Victoria University, we understand that the number one reason for studying is achieving your dream career. And that's why our courses are designed together with industry, to ensure you learn the skills employers are looking for, both now and in the future. Because our courses are so relevant to the workplace, many have been recognised by leading organisations as industry standard. These are just some of the many industry connections we have at Victoria University that help us to ensure our courses are not only up to date, but designed with the latest expertise in technology. It also allows our students to build connections with industry representatives, and it allows us to arrange internships and work placements for our students, where you put the work you do in the classroom into practice. Placements help students gain practical work experience during their studies, as well as develop network connections to ensure they are job ready when they graduate. Students studying the Bachelor of Education P12 undertake placements in both primary and secondary school settings, and there are many exciting opportunities students will have available to them, such as teaching in rural and remote locations around Australia, overseas study tours, and mentoring school students in university-ready skills. Students studying the Bachelor of Education Studies can take part in many practical projects with organisations such as the Immigration Museum and Neighbourhood Houses Victoria. At Victoria University, we have a dedicated placement team that organises placements for our students, so you don't need to find the placement yourself. We build close relationships with our industry partners to develop placements beforehand, so that we can be sure our students meet the competency requirements upon graduation set by the relevant accreditation bodies. We work with our industry partners to make sure they can deliver placement programs to our students that prove they can meet these competency requirements and that they have what it takes to succeed in the workplace. Finally, we'll briefly touch on our application process. If you're currently in Year 12 studying VCE, you need to submit your application via VTAC. You can find further information and submit your application by visiting vtac.edu.au. If you're a mature age student, you can submit a direct application by visiting the page for the course you're interested in and click Apply. Remember to check the relevant course page to view our upcoming intakes. If you'll be applying as an international student, depending on your country of citizenship and visa status, you can either submit a direct application or contact an authorised agent of Victoria University to help you apply. For further advice on international applications, you can contact VU International by emailing international@vu.edu.au. We also recommend that you visit the relevant course page to find out more about the admissions criteria and to find out whether you're eligible to study your course of choice as an international student. That brings us to the end of this webinar, so I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in tonight. If you do have any questions about the content covered in this presentation, please leave them in the Q&A box if you haven't done so already, and your questions will be answered by a staff member. Alternatively, you can also contact the Victoria University Future Students team by emailing student.recruitment@vu.edu.au. A reminder that everyone who registered for this webinar will receive a copy of the recording via email in the coming days, and our contact details will be in the email if you'd like to discuss your study options further. Thanks again for watching, and we hope to receive your application soon.